Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Joe Ellis. I'm a commercial wedding and portrait photographer in Dallas, Texas. And today I want to talk to you guys about taking family portraits where you, the photographer, are in the frame. This is the second ever episode of our Family Photo Life series, and I think every family photographer once in a while needs to be in a family picture. So, we've been doing this for a long time with self-timers and all kinds of different modes, but it's become a lot easier of recent with the advancements in technology we have inside of our cameras. So I thought I would go over some of the basics if you've never done this before, but also give you guys the ins and outs of why it's easier and how to set it up using the Wi-Fi that's built into your camera body to trigger the picture. So the first thing when you do this is you need to pick a background and a pose that's going to work for everybody. So that's really going to depend on where you are, but my advice on posing your family is that everybody's head should be at different heights if possible, and look for shapes like boxes and triangles and diamonds so that you can arrange them in nice patterns. So that's the first step, is really think about where you want to take this, what the lighting looks like in that location, and what kind of pose is going to work for you. Today I've kind of set up a chair and a couple of stools for the four of us, and I'll show you guys kind of behind the scenes of how I set up our family portrait, and then you guys can move and work from there. Okay, so you've got your framing and your location down. The next thing you need to do is you've got to have a tripod really to do this correctly. You could set your camera on a tabletop or the back of a chair or something, but a tripod's really going to make it a lot easier in the sense that you can choose any height that you want, any distance that you want, and get the framing exactly the way that you want it. So I've got a tripod set up here. I have my Olympus OMD EM10 Mark III on my tripod. I have a little 25mm lens on here, which is one of my all-time favorite lenses for this camera system, and I have a flash. So I'm going to use all these bits and pieces to make the picture, and I'll talk about the settings as I go. So the next step for me is I'm going to bring my family into the frame, and I'm going to put everybody in the pose that I like from behind the camera. And then I'm actually going to have them get into the pose, and I'll probably even take 4 or 5 photos of just them without me, because I really want to give them a feeling of where they need to be and what they need to be doing, where their hands are going to be, okay? And at the last second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the Wi-Fi to the camera, which is going to connect it to my cell phone, and I'm going to turn on the trigger mode. So that way I can actually trigger the camera from anywhere in the room, and I can just jump into the frame, get myself posed correctly, and then fire off 4 or 5 frames and hopefully get a winner. So then the last step would be just run around the back, check the photos, make sure you've got it, and bada boom, you're off to the races. And you can use this, guys, for not only Mother's Day, which is coming up this weekend, but any holiday where you need a family picture. I know we do this every year at Christmas time for our Christmas card, and oftentimes I don't have a photographer that I can bring with me to kind of be behind the camera. So just as often as the rest of you, I'm stuck doing this as well. So let's walk through real slowly all the different pieces here, and we'll hopefully give you guys some tips you can use the next time you're doing this with your family. Okay guys, we're all set up to take a family picture, and I've got them sort of arranged so that I'm going to come in on the top left corner over here of the frame, and that will make a diamond pattern of our heads, which will look really nice. So if you're working with 3 people, it's a triangle. If you're working with 4, diamonds work really well. If you're working with 6 or 8 or 12, you kind of want to work with multiple diamonds, and if you vary the head heights, like I said, you're going to get a much better looking photo in the end. Okay guys, ready? Nice and close there. Go ahead and move close, put some on his face. Let's go and live the good life, the good life. Nice job. We're gonna live the good life. Alright, right on the camera. Oh, Nicholas, hit me with it, buddy. Right there. More. Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so I got a couple of really good frames that I'm happy with, where everybody's smiling nicely. And worst case scenario, I could always take this in the computer and edit myself into the best version of the 3 of them. But let's go ahead and turn on the Wi-Fi, and then we will go ahead and get me in this picture. So, all right, so what you want to do is you just go to your menu, and under the playback menu, under the little play icon, you'll see connection to smartphone. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. All right, so I've got my iPhone here. And you see there's a QR code on the back, which you could use from the app, but I prefer just to go into my Wi-Fi settings, and then I will pick my EM10 Mark III from my Wi-Fi settings. I've already entered the passcode before, so it's going to automatically connect. Then I'm going to go into OI Share, which is the Olympus app that controls, gives you live control of the camera if you want to, if you're using it from a distance, and it can also just trigger your camera. So if I go to Remote Shutter, okay, I get a big button on my screen. And this, ready guys? Test shot. Fires the camera. So this works great. So I'm going to jump in the frame now and we'll take a few shots and hopefully get a real winner. So I'll leave this rolling for you guys. Hold it now. 1, 2, 3. Everybody snuggle. Alright you guys, so we're back in the studio. Here is the frame that was my favorite from the shoot. And I hope it demonstrates what you guys can do pretty quick and easy and get yourselves into the pictures, which I know everyone will appreciate. I just want to touch on one thing here before I jump back out and talk about 2 other notes that will finish this video, which are just a quick couple of demos on the tech of using the Olympus camera. But I just want to talk about composition here. So early in the video I talked about diamonds and squares, and I just kind of want to go over what that really means because I wasn't sure I was 100% clear on what I said. So what I'm going to do is just put a new layer on this for a second and grab a brush. So I like to build group pictures in triangles and diamonds is really just 2 triangles. So in this case my diamond shape is actually 1 triangle here, okay, and then 1 triangle here, okay, which I know is not a perfect diamond, but you get the idea that we're sort of making this kind of shape, okay, which is really just 2 triangles. And so I love that for compositions of people. If you just have 3 people in your frame, then you would just do a triangle, which would be here or here, but if you have 4, a diamond works really well. Another way we could have done it is we could have put 2 heads stacked and 2 on either side, but that tends to be a little bit harder in terms of posing, especially when you have kids and you're trying to fit everybody in the frame. So that's just my notes on that. And when you build bigger groups, you just keep going with this pattern. Just keep building up and down, up and down, up and down, so that heads are at lots of varying heights and no 2 people who are side by side have the same head height. Generally speaking, for groups is what looks best. So let's jump back out here to the studio, and I want to do a couple of quick demos for you. Alright you guys, last part of the video here. I just want to go over a couple of quick notes on connecting the camera to the smartphone and triggering it. So all Olympus cameras have Wi-Fi built in, and it's really pretty easy to use. There's lots of ways to get to it from your camera, but probably the most reliable way or easiest way to do it is just to go into the menus. So you can just go to menu and down to your play icon and then over to connect to smartphone. Otherwise, if you're just got your camera in playback or whatever, you'll see a Wi-Fi button on the screen. If you have touch enabled, you'll be able to use that to get to Wi-Fi as well. So I'm going to turn the Wi-Fi on my camera, and what will pop up is like a QR code, and then you'll see an SSID and a password. So I don't tend to use the QR code. If you want to, you totally can. What you would do for that is just open your OI Share app, and that's the free app from Olympus, OI Share. And then down at the bottom you'll find a little camera icon where it says Wi-Fi off, in this case, and it says Easy Setup here. If I press Easy Setup, then I can use it to take a picture of the back of the camera and set up the Wi-Fi that way. I find that actually kind of cumbersome and less reliable. It tends to drop or have errors way more often than if I just go into my Wi-Fi settings and change it myself. So I'll do that for you guys here. So I've got this pulled up. I'll go into my settings, I'll go to my Wi-Fi, and you'll see here that my EM10 Mark III picks up as one of the available Wi-Fis. So if I choose that, that will connect my smartphone to my camera. And if you're doing this for the first time, it's going to ask you for the password, which is right here on the screen. Okay? So once that's done, we'll go back to the OI Share app. All right, and we're looking for remote control, and there's 2 modes for remote control. Okay, the first one is called Live View, and that is where you're actually getting a video feed from the camera to the smartphone. You can actually see with your smartphone what your camera is seeing, and you can make adjustments to the camera's parameters and aperture and shutter speed and all that kind of good stuff. And that works for some projects, but not the one I use most often. The one I use most often is just a very basic trigger. It just gives me a big button on the back of the screen. I just tap the button and the camera fires. So to get to that mode, if this is the first time you're booting this up for the first time, you go to the gear icon here at the top, you go to remote control, okay, and then you see the 2 modes. You have live view and remote shutter. So I'll go to mode where it says live view, and then I'm going to pick remote shutter instead, and that will give me the mode I'm looking for. So as I back out of here and say done. Now when I go to remote shutter or remote control, what happens is I get a big button on the screen. Tap the button and that takes a picture. So that's just a quick little close-up overview here of how this works. That big button fires the camera and you just hide behind your group and bang, 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 take as many pictures as you like. So there you go, guys. That's the end here for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, send me comments, all that kind of good stuff. Really looking forward to it. Talk to you all soon. Bye.